In this week's video, we're going to be thinking about coherence, what it is and how to improve it. Now, of course, in last week's video, we were thinking about fluency, so your ability to speak smoothly without any kind of significant hesitations or pausing too much that it's affecting the person who's listening to you and their ability to follow what you're saying. Now, that's fluency, but of course, this comes together with coherence. In fact, it's one of the areas that the examiner's listening for that they're going to give you a band score on, your fluency and coherence. And of course, it's important to understand what both of these things are and also how to improve it. So I'm going to explain what coherence is first and then give you some ideas on how to improve your coherence when you're preparing to take the IELTS speaking test. So first of all, what is coherence? Well, basically, it's your ability to logically arrange your speech. So basically giving your speech a logical order and developing your ideas from beginning to end when you're answering questions and tasks in the IELTS speaking test. Now, in order to do this, you really must be using cohesive features. So ways in which you're connecting the ideas you're giving when you're speaking, and this is maybe within a sentence or between sentences. Now, we do this by using things such as connectives, or sometimes people call these linkers, the way we're linking ideas with certain words and phrases, and discourse markers, the way we're showing kind of what we're doing or our ideas and opinions and attitudes to what we're talking about and the way we're signaling that to the person listening to us. A lot of the time, this kind of thing is called signposting language as well. It's as if we're showing the person listening what we're doing when we're speaking. And there's lots of different words and phrases you can use that count as connectives and discourse markers. Of course, connectives can be things which are just adding ideas. So words like and also would count as connectives. And maybe you'll have connectives which are comparing or contrasting. So words like but, however, or by contrast. These are the types of words we're using to connect our ideas, maybe within a sentence or between sentences. So the examiner is listening to see if you can use these cohesive features to kind of keep your speech flowing and help them to understand exactly what you're saying and what you think. Of course, this links to discourse markers as well, where you're often using phrases to show the examiner what you're doing. Of course, it can be simple things like saying, I think, to show the examiner you're giving your opinion. Or maybe something like, I imagine, to show the examiner you're thinking about something in the future, or you're not exactly sure about something, so you're having to imagine. But these are the types of words we're using to show the examiner what we're thinking in our head and what our opinions are. It could be simple words like well at the beginning of an answer to give you time to think. Well, this is showing the examiner that you are thinking about something. It's not just connectives and discourse markers that will be counting as cohesive features. I do find when I get really high level English speakers or native speakers in general, they will have a habit of using pronouns to refer back to nouns already used in a previous sentence. And this is a way that we're connecting ideas and sentences when we're speaking. The problem with connectives and discourse markers is that they're often overused by non-native speakers, and it can sound a bit unnatural at times. So practicing the ability to use pronouns to refer back to nouns is also a good thing to do here that will show a really high level of speaking. But you can see here how coherence really is our ability to communicate clearly and make the listener understand what we are saying. Really just our ability to be understood. Also really not to repeat yourself too much, right? That you're always moving on and developing your ideas from the beginning of your answer to the end of your answer. And the better you can do this, the higher band score you're going to get for your fluency and coherence. So really we want to think about how you can improve this part of your speaking. And of course, again, it comes down to a lot of practice. The more you practice, the better you're going to get at kind of using these cohesive features in your speaking. But of course, there are certain approaches you can have to that practice that's going to help. Now, I think ideally, really, you're going to have someone to listen to you. If you have someone to listen to you, you can get them to tell you whether, well, you have coherence or not. Can they understand you? Is it easy to follow what you're saying? And of course, this could be anyone who has a decent understanding of English. You could get them to practice asking you IELTS questions, and you can answer them, and then they can just tell you how well they could follow your answer. Even better than that, you could have a teacher who can really give you focused feedback on your coherence. Not everyone has access to a good teacher who can give you good feedback on your coherence, but if you do have that, then that is ideal. Now, if you don't have anyone who can listen to you and tell you how much they're understanding you, then another option is to listen to yourself. And you can do that by recording your own speech and listening back to your speaking and seeing just generally, is it easy to understand? Is it easy to follow what you're saying? You could also be listening out for how you use these connectives and discourse markers, and whether you're using pronouns to refer back to nouns already used in your speech. And in this way, you're kind of giving yourself feedback that you can't get from someone listening to you. Another really important thing, I think, if you're wanting to improve your cohesion and your fluency in speech, is to say what you really think when you're answering these IELTS questions. Don't be focusing on what you think the examiner might want to hear, or focusing on trying to pretend or lie about something to make up an answer. Say something that you really think and is the truth, because then you're going to focus on just communicating the idea and not worrying about too many other things. If you're worrying about other things, then your speech is going to lack that coherence. So really the point there is to say what you really think. Now, another thing that of course is important that we've mentioned before is those connectives and discourse markers. So it is important that you try to learn some of them. Now, I'm sure you already have a pretty good awareness of this type of vocabulary, but again, building on that and learning a bit more. And of course, to practice using them, because you don't get good at using them without using them. You're going to have to practice and give answers using those different discourse markers and connectives that you learn. Now, one thing I was thinking is maybe doing a video in the future that can show you some more connectives and discourse markers in detail. So if you are interested in that, do let me know in the comments. Another final thing that can be useful to improve your coherence and, the logical order of what you're saying is when you're speaking in the IELTS test, to think about moving from general to specific information when you're giving answers. To start with kind of overall general things and then gradually becoming more specific with your answers. So again, this is a way of maybe in part 3 answers of kind of moving from a general answer to more specific things with specific examples, or even in part 2 where you answer the cues with very general information and then gradually become more and more specific, making sure that you're always moving on from one thing to the next and not getting stuck on one thing and just repeating yourself a lot. So there we go. Hopefully these ideas are going to help you to improve your own coherence and fluency. If this video has been useful to you, then do remember to click the like button, and if you haven't already, subscribe to the channel so you don't miss out on any similar videos in the future. Thanks for watching, guys, and see you again in the next video.